Countdown in 5, 4, 3.
Hello and welcome to the No Ceilings podcast on the Turtle Smith Network. What's up, Vincent?
What's going on, Courtney?
Nothing much. We getting on down through here with these episodes.
Right,
these
episode
steps.
9.
Episode
Nina.
9, step number 8. All right. Well, how's your week been?
It's been pretty cool. Been working out, been doing a little yoga, little Pilates, all that type stuff.
In your exercise era.
Mm-hmm.
How's that feel?
Man, it really feels good. Been counting calories on my Fitness Pal and going to, what's that gym called? Crunch.
Okay.
Crunch Gym. I go to Hot Works, work out in a sauna. Yeah, it's been pretty cool though. What you laughing at?
Because I have no desire to do any of those things. Whatever. It's fall, y'all. It's time for beans and cornbread. It's time for all of the things that I absolutely love about the season. And I have no desire to work out. I did that.
I want the new me before the new year, so that's what I'm working on.
Okay. All right. Start now. Thrive. Start now, thrive. All right. Well, I want to start. This step is all about financial planning. And so with financial planning, I think I want John and Scott kind of talked through a lot of a few things in the financial planning process. We've gone through all of these steps, and now we're at the financial planning step. And so before we dive into the numbers, the first thing that comes to mind when you hear financial planning for a startup is what?
Funding.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by this step, or have you ever done this step?
Yes, this step is a very overwhelming step, especially when you talk about numbers and you have to have a team. It can get very crucial in the room when you're doing the financial planning piece of the business.
Okay. All right. So when you were first starting out, I'll ask you and then you can answer.
Okay.
What was one cost that you didn't account for that ended up being super significant?
I think one thing that comes to mind is just the increase in bills. When production starts, you don't really know what that's going to look like until you actually get into it. So you kind of have to go back and readjust things. If you haven't really planned that part out all the way, it can be one part that you can easily forget.
Okay. Well, for me, I will say there's a lot of things that I didn't account for. And I guess that's because I was providing a service. For me, I didn't have to actually have I didn't feel like I needed to have a space I could work straight out of my house.
Right.
And so I could say I didn't account for bills. I didn't account for having to actually pay, as a bail bondsman, I didn't have to pay, I didn't account for having to pay forfeitures.
Okay.
That's a pretty big thing. If someone skips bond on that 91st day, if you don't have them back in custody, you have to pay the full amount of the bond. And so I didn't account for that in the way that I thought that I'd be doing pretty good business.
So when you say the bond, I mean, I know bonds can get 50, 100,000. So you had to pay $100,000 on that 91st day?
Correct. If you didn't catch that person. So it can get quite expensive. And so you're gonna get those people.
You threw something else in there. You say if you didn't catch that person. So is that where the bounty hunter stuff comes in?
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
And that's costly too, because the money that the cosigner paid for the bond also is that you don't account for that money in the bounty hunting fees. Like the bounty hunting fee is essentially the same amount, depending on who you're dealing with and if you have them on payroll or not. That fee is on top of that. So for instance, if I had a $10,000 bond, I charged them $1,000 for the bond. They paid me $1,000. The bounty hunter may also charge 10% for his service fee. And so now I'm not making any money. I didn't profit anything off of that bond because I had to pay the fees on that bond. And then I also ended up having to pay the bounty hunter as well. So yeah, I didn't account for things like that, which I didn't have very many instances where I had to pay a bond in full. That, of course, you have a surety that backs you up as well, but they expect for you to be able to take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can see how that can be, like, I'm just being in the business. Then that comes, you like, oh, that can potentially put you out of business, though.
It could. One bond can put you out of business, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you have to do the work. Not only that, I didn't account for having at one point I thought I can do this out of my house, but it gets hard having to find a place for people to come in and do paperwork. And so then I had to get a space to rent as my business built up. And so once you start doing stuff like that, you got to account for brick and mortar, space to lease. You have to pay the utilities in that space. You also have to account for if a bail bond office is a 24-hour business. Do you have somebody there around the clock? Do you have certain office hours? If you can't be there during regular business hours, do you have to pay somebody in order to have them run the office while you're running around going to court, going down to the jail to post bonds, going out of county to post bonds? There's a lot of things that you definitely have to think about.
Right.
And I didn't think about those things.
Okay.
So.
I can see how that could definitely come in and kind of shake up the whole business.
Absolutely.
You had to make some adjustments really quick, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And so I want to put this question out there, and I have the answer. What percentage of business owners tend to under budget during the initial phases of starting their business? What do you think?
I would assume that it would be fairly high, maybe 75 or higher.
Okay. According to various studies and surveys, about 70 to 80% of small businesses report underestimating their startup costs or ongoing expenses. This can lead to financial challenges in the early stages, including cash flow issues or the need for additional funding. This tendency to underestimate often arises due to inexperience, unexpected expenses, or overly optimistic projections of revenue. Many new entrepreneurs also underestimate costs related to marketing, staffing, equipment, and day-to-day operations.
I see that being very, very true, especially with the overly optimistic projections of revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, you can know that you have a really great product and a lot of people like it. You can even have a lot of repeat customers, but if it's not scaled big enough, then you're just not going to make that overhead.
Absolutely. Scott and John also talked about monthly cash burn. And I think that it's important to understand, like, the monthly cash burn. Like, that's how much money you need for, like, monthly expenses. It's important in a new business to know what that is. That's your rent, that's your utilities, that's your administrative fees and payroll. And what they really talked about was how important it is to make sure that you have at least 12 months of monthly cash burn. It usually takes, what did he say? He said, I think Scott said it takes about 12, I'm not sure if it was Scott or John. One of them said that it takes about 12 to 18 months to usually turn a profit. And so you have to account for all of those monthly fees in your financial planning. Like, it's so super important. I cannot talk today.
Right. It feels like it's been a couple of weeks, but yeah.
Maybe. But yeah. So you want to make sure that you are tracking your spending. When you look at everything, you account for everything that you need, and you also don't overspend. Once you know what you need, don't overspend on what you have, because that's gotta last you at least 12 months, right? All right. What are your thoughts on monthly cash burn? Have you ever had any situations where you had to have you had that 12 months of monthly cash burn, or didn't?
Usually don't.
Okay.
And it's funny because a lot of times when I got into different business, you would be able, it just works out some type of way. As long as you're putting in that effort. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but once you have that control, you kind of get an idea and you're able to put some money up and put money back into the business, then it just works out.
Yeah.
But usually didn't have that funding. That's why I said funding when we started the conversation, because usually that just wasn't a feasible thing for me, in my experience, just to have like a surplus of funding to get a large loan or something like that. It was always started with 20,000 or even less, and that's usually not 12 months for a business.
Yeah. That's true. The part that we want you to get out of the revenue potential is just basically knowing how much money you expect to earn. And so you want to make sure that you do everything that you can to plan for how much money you expect to earn. All right. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about pro forma and the break even. And so pro forma is like a detailed plan that shows you how much money your business will spend and make over time. You start by listing your startup cost in month 0, and then track your monthly spending, which is your cash burn, and how much money you expect to earn, which is your revenue potential. You also need to include costs that go up as you sell more products, that are called your variable cost, like making more products or hiring more workers. By keeping track of all this, you get a clear picture of your business finances month by month, right? Did you do that? No, me neither. So I think that it's important I think moving forward, I think that this is a really, really, really good step.
Very beneficial to take the time to just do extra due diligence at the end of, this is towards the end of the first part of the first phase. So, and it's very intricate to the survival of your business. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the break-even point. The break-even point is when your business finally starts making money instead of losing it. At first, your cost will be higher than your revenue, but once your gross profits is bigger than your expenses, then you'll break even, right?
Okay.
This means your business is no longer losing money and it's on the path to being profitable.
I don't know why I just feel like money, 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 money.
That's it. That's it. Once that number turns positive, then you've reached your break-even point, and that's basically what you want to do.
Okay.
I think that leads to I can't talk.
Statistics.
Sustainability. Courtney got a little stutter. It's all right. We all got it.
Oh boy, we're going to make it.
All right. So let's get to our last point, and it's the personal budgeting aspect.
Okay.
Your personal budget is a plan for how you manage your own money. Even if your business is making money, you still need to pay for your own living expenses. Pay yourself, such as your rent, utilities, food, all of the things that you need in order to live. Right. To create a budget, you list out all the things you need to pay for every month and make sure your income is enough to cover them. Having a personal budget helps you to see if your business is making enough money for you to pay your bills and live comfortably.
Did you do that?
No. No.
No, like,
Let me tell you something.
be for real. Like,
Cash business. It was a cash business.
right.
And so you get this envelope, or you have this money bag full of money, and you go put all of that money in the bank, and you think you're doing something.
Right.
And then when them fees start coming in, the fees start coming out for all of the things that you have to pay for your business, and then you get to looking around, you like, whoa, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold up. That ain't the money that I thought I was going, that I think
it was just 30, 40, 50 in there. Like,
I think I had less than I thought I had. You know, it's a real, it's an inside joke to that.
yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's seriously, you really do have to account for that, because you want to have a set amount of money that you want to make every single. It's almost like having a job that pays you by the hour. You need to know how much money you expect to take home, you know, every month. Not to mention, you know, you have to set aside money. You know, Scott's probably could speak to this a little bit better, but when you own your own business, you know, you have to make sure you pay those business taxes. And so you want to make sure that you're setting aside enough money for all of the things, and then you're still able to pay yourself and pay your bills at home.
Right.
And so it can get hard. And of course, in bail bonds, I've said this in previous episodes. One bond might be your only bond for the month. So you don't never know. You have to really. If I could go back and do all of this again, I would restructure how I did it. Unfortunately, I don't want to necessarily go back into bail bonds, but in moving forward, all of these tools are great tools that I intend to use for anything that I do.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I agree with you 100%. Definitely having these tools back then would help me tremendously, but moving forward, I plan on sharing this information and using this information with everything, because it translates just past business, and you can use a lot of stuff in everyday life too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that with that, I do want to just say that when your business makes enough money to cover both its cost and your personal budget, then I feel like you're putting yourself in a successful space. And what that means to me is, you know, when you're building your business out, you may have to work another job. You know, you may have to. I mean, I wouldn't put my all into, you know, my 100% into a job that is just keeping me afloat. You know.
Right.
To the point where I can't work on my business. You always want to give your employer, the time that they're asking for you to work on their things. But I wouldn't give extra hours or anything if you are working on a plan for your business.
Bring the value that the employer is paying for, but also bring the value to your business once you leave that employer. Once you clock out, it's time to work on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to do that, and these are the important things that you have to do before you just jump into something that doesn't last, for years and years and years to come.
Right.
And I mean, the reality is, depending on what industry you go into, it may not be a business that will last over time. Trends change, things change, and a business may be good during this time, and eventually, it just kind of fades away, kind of
fizzles out, or the next thing is
kind of like DVDs and 8 tracks and
Velcro wallets.
Velcro wallets. Wow. Velcro wallets.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing else to say on that. So with that being said, that kind of walks us through the steps in financial planning. And I think that we have kind of touched on our successes, our segment for successes and business struggles. We've kind of touched on a little bit of that with each of these steps. And so I kind of want to just kind of go right on into our actionable items.
Okay.
And I just kind of want to summarize some key points.
Okay.
So you want to ensure that you take at least 30 minutes this week and write down all your projected startup costs. Calculate your monthly cash burn, create a simple pro forma using some of the tips that we discussed today. And I think that it's important to know that these steps are super important. And all of this is before you start your business. If you've already started a business, that is fine. But all of these things are great things to do before you even start your business.
Yeah.
So, you want to make sure that you know the importance of the detailed startup cost planning, managing your monthly cash burn to keep the business afloat, estimating your revenue, be realistic about it, identifying the break-even point, and also don't forget your personal budget. So with that being said, I think that this particular step is about crunching numbers. So if you are a creative like me, this is going to be one of those steps that can be a little cumbersome, but that is okay. So with that, do you have any final thoughts?
I would definitely say if you do have a business or if you don't have a business, it's advantageous to go through this process. Because if you do have a business, you have a little upper hand a little bit because you already been in the process. It just helps you kind of tighten it up and I guess like tone that muscle group for that business. And then if you don't, then it's going to save you so much time in the middle of business to do these steps now versus trying to like figuring it out once you bumped your head, because that's how a lot of stuff is learned in business. You got some lemonade over there?
Yeah, it's not lemonade, it's lemon water.
Okay.
Sour.
Yeah, definitely use these steps to make your business better or start your business.
Yeah, I agree. Well, financial planning is not just about crunching numbers. It's about gaining control over your business and setting yourself up for sustainable growth. With the right planning, you can confidently move toward profitability and beyond.
Okay, Buzz Lightyear.
To infinity and beyond.
You cuz Lightyear.
Cuz I can't. With that being said, you can find all of these steps on the Turtlesmith Network at turtlesmith.com. And please follow us on all of the platforms. Thank you for joining us, and you have a great day.